Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video on the changing music industry, which was completed as part of my open research into the music industry. I don't think that made sense. Anyway, in today's video, we'll be looking at the rise of online streaming services for consumers to access their music and the fall of CD sales. According to research gathered from The Big Thing, a massive way the industry is changing is not just how consumers access their music, it's also the management hierarchy within each business. For example, record label bosses were once considered the top end, managing the entire record label, signing all of these amazing artists. However, record label bosses aren't as important as they used to be. They still are, they still own these entire labels, they still sign all of these amazing artists, but it's no longer the way for artists to get their music out there. They no longer have to go through record labels. They can do it independently. For example, you can release your own music on Spotify under your own name, and while you don't have the backing of a big label, if that song becomes super successful, you don't need a label. Anyways, back to the main point. By now, it would be a fair assumption to make that Spotify and Apple Music as online streaming services are doing so much better than big record labels and raking in all of this profit as they continue to steal more consumers away from the traditional avenue of getting your music on a CD, for example. That's not true. Spotify only just made a profit of 94 million euros for the first time in 13 years of functioning. That's a very long time for a business to finally make a profit. It's because they have a very big total cost expenditure, and while their revenue is high, it gets eaten up by all of their costs. So profit, first time in 13 years they've made one. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be successful for years to come. They've already announced that for the current tax year, they're expecting to make a loss of 360 million euros as they look to expand and make lots of improvements to the app. One of the most visible signs of a changing market would have to be the closure and administration of HMV. HMV, which not many people know, stands for His Master's Voice, by the way. HMV is one of the biggest music high street stores in the UK, an instantly recognisable brand that most people in Britain have bought a CD from. However, that's not enough. HMV has gone into administration and closed 21 of its stores, including its flagship store on Oxford Street, which opened in 1921. It was recently bought out by Sunrise Records, which is a Canadian firm, and they are hoping to turn that around and make HMV successful again. But with streaming and the use of streaming platforms for music ever increasing and less people buying CDs, in my opinion, it's unlikely that will happen. So here we have it. Overall CD sales are continuing to fall, and I think, in my opinion, it's safe to say that gradually and slowly but surely we are waving goodbye to the era of CDs. But one thing that has remained a stalemate and is always popular and has continued to be popular is festivals and concerts. Back from medieval times to concerts and classical music being shown at BBC proms, which still continue to this day. You have a lot of modern music festivals incorporating techno, jazz, hip-hop, pop, everything, such as Glastonbury, BST, Wireless, Creamfields, all of them, Reading, Leeds, generating so much success for the music industry, but that's just a platform for the bigger artists to get their music out there. The music industry is a continuously changing market. As we move towards a more technology-based approach to music, it doesn't necessarily mean that CDs will cease to exist. They still will, just not in the same capacity as they have previously, and they will no longer dominate the market in sales like they used to. Artists and record labels alike will continuously turn to streaming services to get their music out there, and it will soon become the main way that consumers listen to music, if it hasn't already. So there we go, that's all I have to say, and thank you for watching my video on research into the music industry, which I made because my media teacher told me to.